Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Second place is still our ambition, according to Scotland manager Gordon Strachan, ahead of our match in Slovakia. England's captain Wayne Rooney finds himself on the bench for their trip to Slovenia. And Alloa have a new manager. It's the former St Mirren midfielder Jim Goodwin who takes up the post vacated by Jack Ross. That's just a few of the talking points Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin, will be discussing with our bootroom guest, I'm delighted to say, legendary sports broadcaster Archie MacPherson. So a lot to look forward to, guys. Ruffy, we've been talking about it ad nauseum, the Scotland game against Lithuania ahead of this big game against Slovakia. Archie, you've seen many a good Scotland team, many a great game. Saturday must have been a disappointment for you.
Well, here's an indication. My son, who's a real Tartan Army man, went with his pals. They left at half-time. They spent I think 40 quid a ticket. I think there's an air of desperation now that we've seen this so often, so many times, that you feel, can we really give them a second chance? Now that may seem disloyal, but I think people are paying a hell of a lot of money to see these games. And club football, domestic football, which is exciting as at the moment because of what Celtic have done in Europe, because of Rangers back again, it goes away for 10 days. So they don't have that club football any longer. And in its place has come mediocrity. We're supposed to support our country, of course, but they've got to turn out something better than they did that particular night. They were, in a phrase I've been used to criticise before, Peely Wally, and that's what they were.
You know, in this modern age of social media and the knee-jerk reaction and the immediate reaction to either the manager, the players, the way the team played, you know, from your original days when the newspapers ruled everything and television covered quite a lot as well in your days, have we changed? Are we too quick to write off? Because I sense there's a sea change in the view towards Gordon Strachan. Yeah,
well, there was a recovery. There was a time when people were harshly hostile after Argentina, where I saw Ali MacLeod being actually spat upon by the supporters who were praising him to the highest before he went out there. And there was a fall away in support. Then came Seville, and Seville, the particular game against Brazil, which was a carnival atmosphere, and the Scottish supporters turned a new corner. They were supporting of their team, sometimes supporting of teams that weren't playing all that well, but were fairly loyal to them. And I think we've now got into the stage where they'll turn quickly on the manager. Even a manager who started off being very accepted by the supporters, very likeable, a witty, punchy little character, who recently has been turning into the kind of character I saw under pressure at Celtic, where his personality changed as well, becoming a little bit nasty with press conferences and things like that. And the public, I think, are not going to tolerate another performance tonight like they saw the other night.
Yeah, and with that in mind, Ruffy, I mean, I can remember quite a few of my compadres looking and saying, you know, why should we be waltzing around cheering a manager after 6-0 against Gibraltar and we failed to qualify for a tournament? I really get a sense if we don't take something from tonight's game, then you know there will be a huge change in the attitude towards the manager, because second, as you're about to hear shortly, is what he's been preaching over the last couple of days since that 1-1 draw.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Gordon's left his cell open now. You know, obviously, a lot of people look at media. You know, they'll look at the press conferences he's had. He hasn't come over very good in them, as Archie said there, with the answers to questions. He's started to be flippant again. That could be pressure. You never know. It might be the case. But I just don't get my head round of... I never ever went into a qualifying competition thinking we can't win this. We can't be first in the section. This, taking it, we're going for second. You know, I just don't get that. You know, I don't think England are that great. I think if we're organised enough, as we've proved we can be, we can take points off them. You know, I think it's a bit defeatist saying, let's be second. Well, let's be second. Every time we're second, we never qualify. we never get through a playoff. So I don't know where the confidence building is. No, let's be second.
Yeah, I mean, that's all well and good when we talk about levels. I mean, I don't think they're a great England side, but if we're talking about levels, we're not even on their level, Archie.
Well, I mean, Slovakia gave them a game, didn't they, during the European Championship, which was an indication. If you take, I know you're going to talk about Wayne Rooney, but there are certain icons in English football which surprise me, like David Beckham, who used to cross a good ball and take a good free kick, but beyond that, how he became quite a superstar, building people up beyond the real potential. And I think they're not, the English, when they're looking at the teams, the commentators and so on, are not as critical as we are. They accept things that we don't and haven't done in the past. So I think that this English team are under constant pressure by a press that is acquiesces to them far too often. But on the other hand, you feel the undercurrent is they're ready to belt us. So they're not a great team at all, but they have potentially a good team. That's the point, Alan. Potentially, when you look at them, look at these players that they've got playing at the top level in English football and in Europe.
Well, the bottom line is every one of their players would get in our side.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's the quality that they've got.
Yeah. Well, let's first of all hear from the manager Gordon Strachan and the captain Darren Fletcher, reflecting on that 1-1 draw against Lithuania and looking ahead, obviously, to tonight's game.
Of the two games, 3 quarters that have been good. Malta game, 90 minutes, apart from a couple of minutes in the game, was good, professional, liked it. Second half the other day there was what I wanted, chances, crosses, excitement, we got that. So 3 quarters has been good. So we have to take that 3 quarters, take it into a full 90 minutes.
Of course there was initial disappointment. You know, it was a game we expected to win and we wanted to win, and we do look at it as a slightly missed opportunity. But at the same time, we showed great character from a goal down to come back and get the equalising goal. It might turn out to be a massive point. Only time will tell. We still find ourselves second in the group, and we come here confident because, you know, Slovakia aren't in a good place just now, and, you know, being the second seeds in the group, we can come here and win. It would be massive. And even come here and not lose, I think would be, you know, would put us still in a good, strong position in the group. Plenty of games to play for, so, you know, we're not ruling ourselves out. That's why we didn't want to say it was must win before Lithuania, because we don't win, we don't turn up here, and we, you know, that's the end of the group. No chance. We're still right in this group, and we're still fighting, and we're still a long way to go, and we still believe in ourselves.
I think most of us expect, and I think, you know, the footballing world, that England would win it. As I said, but it's a crazy gang here in this the group they've got. So you never know. Second, yes, we will definitely go and try and get second, at least. And if you end up going first, then great. But second's our target as we sit here. I don't think it's changed in the last 2 games. I think if you say to us realistically, then second is a target for us.
It's going to be a tight group. I think there's going to be points taken off each other. I think that it's up to us that we're there at the end, whether it's being first place or second place. That's all that matters, really. You know, I think it's a very tight group. I think that was always going to be the case before the competition. When we seen Lithuania winning 2-0 against Slovenia, obviously Slovenia came back into it, but we watched the game and they played really well. We knew that they were a very much improved side, and we seen that at Hampden. Although we still feel we probably should have won the game and are disappointed not to have done that. So it's a very tight group, so as I said, it's up to us to come out of, you know, I think come out with the double headers ahead, and I think we'd find ourselves in a right good position.
So the emphasis from manager and captain, singing off the same hymn sheet here, second in the group. I actually think, you know, Ruffy, when you look at the group, I think there's a tremendous overreaction. It's almost as if, you know, other teams are not going to lose points in this one. I think, you know, Slovakia tonight, if we could hold them to 1 point, suddenly, you know, they're up against it, and then you're looking at Slovenia and Lithuania as your main competitors for second.
Yeah, but the other downside of that whole scenario is we'll all take points off of each other. You could end up with the second place not having enough points. You know what I mean? If we're all taking points off each other, you could end up with the second place team having 15 points, you know, which would mean you're banking on the other groups not being more than that. And it looks as if you said the other day, there will be big teams will get more than 15 points.
Well, just on that point, I will come back to Ruffy and Archie in the next part of the programme and get their predictions on this one and the other games in our group. That's coming up after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. Alan Ruff and Archie MacPherson are with me here in the studio. We've been debating second place and the permutations of it. Of course, 8 out of the 9, Ruffy, will make it into a playoff. That doesn't make it any easier, I have to suggest to you, because France and Italy are just a couple of the teams that could find themselves in second place as well, and knowing our luck.
Yeah, you would like to think that the majority of the other groups, the second place will have at least 18 points, and so we've got to get that. And the more points we drop, the harder it's going to be. I mean, we've got 2 away games coming up. There's no guarantee we're going to take 3 points out of these games. You would like to think we've got a chance. Yeah. You know, Slovakia tonight don't score that many goals, which has been proved.
Haven't scored
yet. Yeah, and we've always liable to get a goal away from home, but you can't honestly see us going there and winning. I hope we do. But if we just take a draw out of this, the next game coming up is obviously England. And if everybody's saying England are going to be runaway winners in this group, then we can't expect anything there. So all of a sudden, we've got 5 points.
It's a good group. When you look at it now, it's a very good group. I mean, England are the only team that would really cause any worry for us under any circumstances. But you know, no matter how sceptical or cynical we might justifiably be about the Scottish team, Scottish football badly needs this. Can you think if they're done in tonight, it's finished. It's virtually finished. And what kind of crowds will they get at Hampden Park, you know, for the rest of the game? So it is vitally important that Scotland get at least one out of this, 1 point out of this game. Whether they can do it or not after that really pathetic display. You know, you get teams, and Alan has played in teams himself, where they reach the bottom, you know, the bottom of the curve, and the only way is up. Well, that's the way I can see Scotland. They may get some inspiration from the fact that they were so poor against Lithuania. Although that game against Georgia, that was that one game that destroyed us from getting to Europe, where unaccountably a team that had been playing very good, attractive football suddenly didn't appear. And that's a worry about tonight.
It's funny you saying that, Archie. I mean, is 1 point acceptable to you?
Yeah, 1 point at this stage, given what I saw the other night, yes, that would be acceptable. Of course I want to go for a win. And of course I say, let's go out and stick into England and get something from the English games and not be defeated, as Alan says. But realistically, who's going to score the goals? What are we doing with a central defence that really, I mean, it's very difficult to keep comparing the past with the present, but unavoidably you have to do that. I mean, the 2 Scottish central defenders wouldn't have got into a 3rd Scottish team, Alan, that you played in.
Yeah, there was a lot of good players going about, but we keep being told by Gordon that this is a club side, this is a side that all fight together, they all come together, and that's what you've got to believe that we have. And I don't think we're ever going to be turned over by anybody, because I think we are organised enough. But as actually it's getting that second goal. But
you know, I hate to be cynical about it, but you can be, you know, the most together team in the world with a great spirit and play like a club side, but if you haven't got the players who can actually play football at a certain level, and unfortunately Russell Martin and Grant Hanley are at a level where they always give the other team a chance to score, and then, as Archie mentioned there, we sometimes have to look and think, where are we going to get 2 goals from?
Exactly, that's what I was saying. If you look at the last 14 games, taking out the minnows that we play against, we've only been able to score 2 goals, I think it's twice, Germany and Poland. But these 2 teams play open football. The teams who are very well organised and hitting the counter, we have only shown the ability to score 1 goal, and that is a big problem.
There was no drive or aggression from midfield the other night. It just wasn't there. You take the captain, a very reliable and solid player, but he's always been bland to me. He always fitted in. He fitted in to a Manchester United team when he was playing there, with superb players around him. feeding them and getting something out of them as well. And we're far too bland in midfield. Miss Brown, there's no question that a bit of his aggression and dig simply wasn't there. And also, I watched the other night, I watched the Wales game against Georgia, and Georgia were playing some lovely, free-flowing football. Great control, great skill, scored a great goal. And I desperately want to see that from Scotland. Now, here's the thing. I saw it at the start, when Gordon came in, at the start of the last campaign, when they played some very good football abroad against Germany and Poland and so on. And then it seemed to dissipate. And I frankly think some of our players are physically not strong enough, because in all of these games, no matter how well we were playing, in the last 20 minutes, even against Germany and Poland, who were doing well, we were clinging on to dear life.
Strangely enough, off the back of that, I just think our biggest problem as well is I don't think technically we're good enough. We don't have players, even you look at the midfield, you want players that can maybe pick a pass. I mean, Archie's talking about him. I can look back and Paul McStay looking to his right-hand side and he had Graham Souness there. Players that can beat a man, players that can pick a pass. We don't have that. I mean, it's all very safe and structured. You look to the right-hand side and you're hoping that James Forrest has a great game. You look to the left-hand side, you're hoping Matt Ritchie can deliver a killer ball. But more often than not, it's always with, one person in the box, not enough people in that box to get on the end of them, as you mentioned in last night's programme. We could go back into under-21s and all the other teams that are coming through. They're not doing well either. But to the here and now, do you expect us to get something from tonight's game, Ruffy? What do you expect?
I do expect. I think they, as I've said earlier, I don't think they score that many goals, which is comforting. If that's the style of play that they have, I think we've shown that if we do get behind the ball and organised, we can defend. We don't lose that many goals. But the problem is scoring them. And this team, although they're not attacking minded, they don't lose many goals. They've lost their last two games 1-0. The England game was in the very last minute of the game, and they were unfortunate not to take anything out of that game. But I think we are good enough to get a goal, particularly at free kicks, corners. Yeah. But again, as the both of you have touched on, if it's backs against the wall, have we got a defence that can sit it out?
Well, I have to defend well, that's for sure, and maybe counter-attack. But have we got pace? Certainly Andy Robertson gives us that bit of burst down the left-hand side. Patterson, maybe not just as fast, but at least he's got a long throw. Let's get down to basics. If you've got a long throw, man, then maybe that's an advantage, as Alan said, with set positions. So, but it's a pity we have to be almost unavoidably pessimistic, given what's happened recently. But nevertheless, I still think we could get something out of this. They're not a great team.
No, they're not. But can I just pick up on one point? You two guys can maybe, give me an indication of the type of people you are when you watch a football match. I mean, Chris Coleman said something the other day there that stuck in my mind. We complain if we've got somebody who has a long throw. You look at the Europeans; they look at it as a means to justify the end result. I mean, are we always trying to be the football purists?
No, I don't think we are. Well, when Gordon started off initially, playing the ball around was good. It was refreshing to see that. But he'll go for any means. I mean, or else Patterson's not in the team. I'm sure his throw-in was part of the reason why he was brought in at right back, apart from his good defensive qualities and his toughness and reliability, which he's done very well with Hearts.
Well, God is the goal.
And God is the goal, thank God, out of virtually nothing, a throw-in. Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. Listen, gut feeling?
One each.
One each for me.
Okay. I still remain pessimistic. I've still predicted Slovakia to win this one, and I hope I'm wrong, and apologies to even the most patriotic of Scots. As far as England are concerned, they're in Slovenia. The captain's on the bench. Archie said something earlier on that maybe the English media cut them a wee bit more slack. I'm not so sure, Ruffy. Sometimes I think they can be vitriolic, and when they get the bit between their teeth,
yeah, they can be.
They will not let him go. I mean, they want him out. He's out. The manager's justified it by saying it's his performance. Suddenly, this is an England side without Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what not all the English media, but a lot of them, you know, they pick on a certain individual, whether it's the star player or whether it's the manager, and they go for it big time. And I have to say that I think Wayne Rooney has handled it very well. I don't know if you saw his interview.
Yeah,
I think he's accepted it. You know, okay, I've got a level of performance. Maybe I'm not there at this moment, but I'll get back there. And I think he's not succumbed to what's been happening round about him. All credit to him. I think he's done very well.
Yeah. Let me explain what I meant by the English media. The English media draw back from criticising when they should criticise until a crisis is imminent. That's when they put the boot in, when they feel safe. Remember the Press Act as a whole.
Yeah.
They're not all individuals. They feel to themselves, this is the time to put the boot in, and that's what they've done with Rooney in particular. I don't think the manager actually handled it very well. I saw his press conference and he was apologetic. He shouldn't be apologetic. He's dropped a player.
Yeah.
Give your reasons for dropping him, and that's that.
We'll be back after the break. We'll get the predictions on England, Slovenia out there, and also we'll go to domestic issues as well. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Just before the break, we were talking about Slovenia against England. Can you see any slip-ups there, Ruffy, for Gareth Southgate?
I think Slovenia will go into the game with a bit of confidence. They were sloppy in the first game against Lithuania, but once they started getting their act together, they looked very good. They'll obviously be confident with the win they had at the weekend. It's been interesting. I think this could be one to watch to see how good England really are. You know, I think the result, as I've said on numerous occasions, sometimes results, you know, make you fearful of teams. And I think if England were to go there and maybe win 2-0, 3-0, then we've got a big problem. But in the saying that, I think we've taken our eye off the ball with Slovenia. All we've been doing is looking at Slovakia. You know, all we've been looking at them. If they were to get something tonight against England, I think that would be more pressure for us.
You see, the England gave themselves a problem for this game unnecessarily because of the publicity surrounding Rooney. They needn't have gone in with all. If he had dropped them and that was it and get on with it, now they're all conscious, will it affect us or will it not affect us? And mentally that will influence at least some of the players.
Yeah.
Where is he in the park? Is he going to come back on and maybe even rescue us if they're in trouble? I suspect England will win. I suspect they'll win now. They've had two in different games, and I think on this occasion, given that they have this new manager who didn't perform brilliant, well, they didn't in that game at Wembley, but I think they'll get through tonight.
Yeah, strangely enough, 0-0 and then Rooney comes on and scores the winner would be the ideal back page headline. But I think we need England to win just to completely, close down Slovenia's points total in that group, Ruffy.
Yeah, if we're going along the assumption that England are going to run away with it, let's let them run away with it. Just
out of curiosity, if it all goes pear-shaped for us tonight, do you expect the Tartan Army and others, including ourselves, to be looking at Gordon Strachan as the man who should be replaced? He's experienced enough to realise results are the dividend for him, one way or the other. Either a bonus or a loss. He realises he got a lot of criticism for that performance. And unfortunately, whilst I've known him since he was that height, he's still that height, by the way. And I like him in many, many ways. But he's a manager of a football team that hasn't performed. And attention will be directed towards him. The difficulty is, and we've already, on all your programmes we're watching, where are the players? Where are the players? You've already alluded to the fact they're not even coming through at the lower levels. So it's going to be difficult. I don't think he's there for the sacking of it. No, I think it would have to be a heavy defeat. I think it would have to be maybe 3-0 or something like that. But again, with these two games, hopefully we were all looking at 6 points. We were
probably settle for 4. If it's 2 or 1, then, you know, the pressure's on. And you don't want to go into an England game with pressure. You don't want to be going down there with the media against the team, the supporters against the team. You want to get down there with a bit of hope and believe that you can get something.
So he stays if there's a point?
Unless it's 3-0.
A heavy defeat, yeah.
Okay, interesting stuff. Let's go closer to home then. One appointment today that I'm delighted about. He's a good lad. We've had him on the programme on more than a few occasions. Jim Goodwin gets the step up to the Alloa manager's job. He's been there as a player for Jack Ross, and now he has to fill those boots.
Experienced, solid, controversial, gives it and takes it. In that respect, they'll get a tough manager, I suspect. Difficult job to follow after Jack Ross and what he's done on that pitch. When I once described it as like scrappings off a barra from the barras. You know, it's one of the worst pitches I've ever seen. With all the wee bobbles running about the pitch, unbelievable. So he's done a good job. It's going to be difficult though. Even a change of manager, it depends on how he settles with the players. But good luck to him.
Yeah, just on that point that Archie's making there, in a sense, he's managed to encapsulate all the qualities of Jim Goodwin. I think off the pitch, you'll never meet a nicer guy, Roffy. And again, Jim Goodwin himself highlighted that one of the qualities that Jack Ross seems to have is he's made that transition from player to manager and been able to still communicate, you know, in a way that it's not us and them and, you know, the gaffer and everyone else. He's still managed to bridge that gap.
No, I think any time we've had him in the studio, he seems down to earth. I think he will be that kind of manager. I think he'll be a manager with a lot of experience that the younger players will take to him. I think he'll be able to get his point across. He'll obviously be thumping into them the importance of discipline on the park and not to get sent off too often.
Only you could highlight that.
But no, I think he'll be good. Any time we've had Jim in.
You must have met many players like that, Alan. You know, who are nice as the butter wouldn't melt in their mouth. As soon as they cross the touchline, away they go.
It'll be a test for him because he's obviously never had to experience it before. You know, so but it's good to start. You know, where he's starting, and as we saw with Jack Ross, there only is one way is up, and you've got to learn somewhere.
Yeah, and not ideal to look at it. He's only had 3 defeats, 1 draw out of the 16 games. What a start for them, Archie. I mean, all those wins right at the start as well. Yeah,
it's really amazing. I mean, what you like about Scottish football and what we'll still have to nurture and foster, given the huge disparity between the league in the south, the top league in the south, and us up here, is local clubs doing well, keeping a local support. Okay, not great numbers, but at least the identity of football still remains in little parts of Scotland, which is why I have always believed in a big Premier League, not the tight league that we have. We've got to spread the leagues out to other areas, not necessarily because I think it'll provoke big attendances, but at least it'll spread football. The big clubs need to be out to the likes of an Alloa if they ever came up and won this, let's say, a top 16 league. I've never wavered in all the time I've been in this business of wanting bigger leagues to give a little bit of freedom to clubs to bring on young players. If Celtic went out to play one of the lower teams like Stennismuir, if they would come up, playing younger players there, bring them on and so on. All that's to the benefit not just of the bigger clubs, but the smaller clubs as well, seeing the bigger clubs in their area.
Yeah. Okay, there's a couple of things that I think deserve a mention for the positivity, Ruffy. Cammy Bell, Championship Player of the Month, and of course he produced 3 penalty saves. Didn't quite get in the Guinness Book of Records, but still it helped his side to a win against Dunfermline.
No, all credit to him. You know, he's a player who's had to accept being turned down by the old firm, and very quickly. You know, and he did particularly well with Rangers, I thought, any time he played. So as a player, you've got to get your head round that. You've got to start again. he's went down there, and I thought he's been fantastic. I saw some saves he had the other week there that was top class, really top class. I think he's a top class goalkeeper, and all credit to him. I hope he wins more.
The Motherwell thing kind of, that lapse at Motherwell, that kind of stuck in the minds, particularly of Rangers supporters. What was your philosophy about facing up to a penalty anyway? Did you have a fixed thing in your mind? Or did you just not want to be there?
No, I always tend to know my strength, which was my strongest side. So that was the side I hoped that they would put it at. And if they put it to that side,
tell us
then I knew
which
I
side,
had that chance. It was my right side.
Yeah, okay. Not giving anything away now. You can't even make our six-a-side team. But Archie, just on the point of Joey Barton, just briefly on this before we finish, is there any way back for him, or is it curtains?
No, well, if there's any way back, it's the weakness of Rangers. I mean, if they cannot stamp authority on a player who's erred in all kinds of ways, then it shows their terrible weakness. They've got to, I mean, the big managers, I think Mark Warburton's a nice guy. I think he's a nice guy. I'm beginning to wonder if he's hard enough to grip and grasp a situation like that. I mean, the big Rangers in the past, Jock Wallace would have had him thrown out a windy from the top of the stand. You know, these sort of things would have happened. No, I think they're trying to be very rational and reasonable, and there are obviously contractual difficulties involved. But back, no.
Okay, and for young managers just getting into the job, including Jim Goodwin, throwing your players out the windy, as Archie suggested there, maybe not the good idea, but it's certainly a great hark back to the old days. What would some of the older managers, what would Fergie have done with Joey Barton? That's not so long ago. Great to have Archie on the programme. Fingers crossed. Good luck to Scotland tonight. I hope my prediction is 100% wrong. I hope these guys are wrong too, and we've got the win. Stranger things have happened in football. Second still on the agenda for now. We'll discuss it tomorrow on the programme. Join us at